which is the date rape drug, and they traced about 60 tablets in the system. He was in a coma for almost 2 days. Now, who gave him Rohypnol? Now, that's a big question. Courtney had a prescription for that Rohypnol. She already knew about the divorce. She knew about the will. They were really on the outs. They were being quite vicious to each other. So some people think, and also Tom Grant thinks, and I'm inclined to believe him, concur with him, that this was her first attempt to off Kurt. And then his record label, of course, weighed in on it. Everybody was trying to say, no, it was a suicide attempt because, throughout his life, he did photo ops with guns in his mouth. He talked about suicide. So it was an easy thing to foist on him. So that's what preceded all this 6 weeks later. Mm-hmm. Now, after the whole thing happened, a guy by the name of Elton Hoke, who was a punk artist, came up with this story that Courtney Love had contacted him and told him, my old man is being a pain in the ass. I need you to whack him. I'll give you $50,000. Now, anybody can say that, right? What proof is there? Well, he took a polygraph test with one of the top polygraph people in I think it was Inside Edition that had him do that. And he passed at 99.
I kind of recall. I was just going to say, I sort of recall seeing some kind of coverage on that, yeah.
Yeah, and he passed it with a 99.9% certainty. And, of course, as you recall, O.J. didn't pass it. Courtney has refused to take any kind of polygraph test. And as we know, Courtney is a rather unstable, violent person. Just consider her past. She's attacked many people. She's been to trial for battery. She's threatened people's lives. Her previous husband, a guy by the name of Falling James Moreland, who was a punker too, she tried to burn him in his bed. She threatened him with hitmen, and he was terrified of her. So this is not a love and peace kind of woman. And she had told her father years ago, "I'm going to marry myself a rocker and kill him." Not that all of that is
Hank Harrison. That's Hank Harrison. Is he still alive? Is he still alive?
He is. Yes, he
All
is.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what, let's take a break here. This is great. All right, this is really useful information and just an intriguing study. 10 years into this. The Rock and Roll Book of the Dead. That's also the website, Rock and Roll Book of the Dead. 866-482-1011. 866-482-1011. Questions on Jerry Garcia, Kurt Cobain, Jimi Hendrix, Jim Morrison, Janis Joplin, and Elvis Presley, too. 866-482-1011. It's the Allan Handelman Show. We'll be right back. Rock and roll historian David Comfort is with us 10 years into the bizarre yet similar lives of these rock icons, Elvis, Janis, Cobain, Hendrix, Morrison, Garcia, Lennon, and Elvis Presley. 866-482-1011. 866-482-1011. And it's David Comfort. David, you were talking about the person who was asked to kill Kurt Cobain, or I guess Courtney asked somebody to knock him off. And we got a question on this vein. So let's go ahead and take Pete a little early on line one. Pete, good to have you on WZTK. What's your question?
Yes, how you doing, Alan?
Doing great.
My question is about who Courtney actually asked to do the murder or killing of Kurt.
He was a guy by the name of Elton Hoke. They also called him El Duce.
That's the rumor I heard.
Yeah,
he actually is. I don't know if this is part of.
He was thrown in front of a train.
Yeah.
Or he walked in front of a train. Not long after that.
I know he had some alcohol and drug issues himself.
Yeah, he was an alcoholic.
Right. So, but yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, Pete. He's gonna really give you the background right here. But did you have anything you wanted to say, Pete, other than just ask that? All right. Appreciate it. Thanks, man. 866-482-1011. 866-482-1011. We're talking right now about Kurt Cobain. But any of these people, any of the stories, any of the information, and there's some really shocking, just amazing stories to share. But go ahead and continue.
Let me just pop off the thing on the Cobain thing, Alan. We didn't get into some real specifics of the actual death scene in the body.
Take your time. We got plenty of time.
apropos of a possible murder conspiracy. Now, when Cobain was found and the coroners went over him, there was 3 times the fatal dose of heroin in his system. That is to say, if somebody had had 1/3 of that shot, they probably would have OD'd and died. Now, Kurt Cobain in the past, of course, he was a heroin addict off and on. In the past, he had been found unconscious with needles in his arms, right? But he was still breathing. Now, I mean, why wasn't he still breathing? Well, clearly he was shot. Now, after you take that dose of heroin, you're not conscious anymore. You can't shoot yourself, you know. Also, the gun that was found, the 20-gauge gun that was found, it was neatly on top of his body, not even showing any recoil, you know, it's somewhere down near his feet or whatever. It was completely wiped down. There were no prints on it, not his prints, nobody else's prints. The entire house, which was usually in complete disarray, the Cobain, Courtney Love house, was very, very neat. Another very telling thing is the suicide note, or what they call the suicide note. Now, most people have seen that. The suicide note was about 300 words, and basically the body of it was in Kurt's writing. Indeed, they established that, and it was essentially a note to his fans of regret and apology that he couldn't take it anymore. I mean, being in Nirvana and playing, he needed a sabbatical, he needed a vacation, you know, and so he said he was quitting and expressing his regret to his fans. Now, at the end of that note was about a 20-word thing saying, "Oh, Courtney, I love you so much. You and Francis are gonna be so much better off without me." Essentially meaning I'm gonna off myself. Now that was in different handwriting, and various handwriting experts have established that. Her lawyer told Tom Grant that that several days, about a week before, some days before they actually found the body, she found in Courtney Love's backpack a practice sheet, a forgery practice sheet, trying to copy Kurt's letters. Now, you know, you would think, therefore, it's a good possibility that was in her own writing. Therefore, obviously, to make this look like a suicide. Another very telling aspect is the 2 main guys in the Seattle Police Department who investigated this, the head investigator, the head detective, Don Cameron, and the coroner, the medical examiner, a guy named by the name of Hartshorn. They were both good friends of Courtney's. And Courtney told Grant at the time, "I'm not afraid as long as these guys are on the case, i.e. they're going to protect me." Now, why should they protect Courtney? Because Courtney was playing both sides of the fence. She was a heroin addict, too, but she was narking on other heroin addicts and telling the Seattle Police Department, and, of course, giving her sob story that, "Oh, I'm trying so badly to get off it myself, but I need to turn over these pushers to you," you know. And they bought the whole thing. Also, one thing that would have really told a lot is the photos at the death scene. It would have told an enormous amount to others, outside investigators. Well, Courtney and her lawyer had those, instructed the Seattle Police Department to destroy those photos.
Wow.
So there are all these many aspects. I mean, not one in and of itself is going to prove a conspiracy, but when you take all those things together, I think you've got to seriously consider there was a conspiracy here. And
all the things that she said to Tom Grant, and how her whole attitude started to change when he started asking her questions that should be very easy to answer, and she avoided the answers, and all of a sudden he was starting to close in on something, and she fires him, try to get him out of the picture. She hired him. She tried to have his PI license taken. Oh yeah.
And then she tried. She does a good deal of sword rattling. She threatened him with lawsuits. Their record label took out big ads in the trade saying that if you repeat and support Tom Grant's conclusions, you're vulnerable to a lawsuit. I mean, they were really trying to scare people here. I'll tell you, man. We got a break here, but when I come back, I'll tell you some stories that I was right in the middle of that, because I was the one really taking a chance with Tom Grant. Gil Gross, ABC, was the first to put him on, and I was second. And I continued, and the pressure, believe it or not, it wasn't as bad as you would think, but on the other hand, Courtney Love did everything she could to get me to stop talking to Tom Grant. We'll talk about that and a lot more. 866-482-1011, the Rock and Roll Book of the Dead.